The U.S. is truly a melting pot where people from around the world have brought their traditions and celebrations with them, and the Chinese have definitely made their mark. That cultural exchange between the two countries is enriching on so many levels and promotes better understanding. This week on Full Frame, we look at how Chinese culture is celebrated in the U.S. socially, educationally, and everyone's favorite, through the taste buds. I'm Mei Lee in Los Angeles. Let's take it full frame. Imagine being able to experience daily life in China without ever leaving the United States. Well, the Children's Museum of Indianapolis lets you do exactly that with the Take Me There China exhibit, one of the largest of its kind on contemporary China ever produced in the U.S. The 1,200 square meter exhibit is the result of a decade of planning and in-depth research, which included multiple trips to China. Now, teams of researchers studied customs, culture, and modern society, then brought back artifacts and photos. As Full Frame's Mike Walter explains, the result is an immersive experience that offers visitors a chance to feel like they've experienced the country firsthand.
Welcome aboard. Go ahead and find a seat. They're all first class. Ni hao. Hello, my friends. Welcome aboard. Enjoy your flight.
With just a 2-minute plane ride, visitors to the Take Me There China exhibit at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis are transported to Beijing. Before landing, they'll see the Great Wall of China. Once off the plane, they'll meet their host, 11-year-old Jackie Wong. For this trip, visitors can explore a Chinese tea house, discover the giant pandas, shop in the marketplace, visit a traditional opera house, and get a look inside a typical family home. So, let's get started.
Where did the plane say we were going to go?
To China!
Through the use of live interactive performances, you are introduced to Chinese culture, like the art of serving tea.
The tea ceremony we just saw was wonderful. It was something I never knew, never seen before, and not something you can just see a long pot and you go, oh, well, that's nice. You actually see how it's done.
One of China's most endearing national treasures is the giant panda. At the Panda Research Center, children can pretend they are the panda's keepers.
I saw them grow, and when they were first born, I couldn't see their fur.
Her favorite exhibit was the pandas and being able to feed the pandas and just like she was her baby dolls at home. Also, we really enjoyed the market over there and noticing there's some of the same foods and some different foods.
At the Sichuan-inspired restaurant, children can prepare some of those different foods using authentic Chinese cooking utensils.
What is it? Do you know what this is?
Then serve up their faux dumplings and stir-fry creations.
So this is really important for them to see that they're not only a part of their neighborhood, but they're a part of a bigger community, in fact, our planet.
It's really fun. You get to learn a lot of different things. I like playing with the shelf cooking because it's so fun.
To create this immersive journey through modern Chinese life, the museum spent a decade planning, sending multiple teams to China to study customs, culture, and modern society.
It was really important for our educators and our designers to be in that environment so we could really soak it in and look at all these little details that you may not see, but when we add them in, it makes this experience extraordinary.
As part of the exhibit, the museum also features 2 young teachers in residence from China. They specialize in music and calligraphy. sharing their talents, traditions, even their language with visitors.
When we are here, people can ask about your real life. Apart from just read it from the history book or just watching the documentary about China, because you know people always just talk about the history, the ancient China culture. They don't know about the modern life. So we really want to tell people what our life look like today.
Now, as you can see, we can play some gentle sounds and also some fierce sound with this instrument.
When we share our cultures to visitors and visitors share their experience or thinking to us, we actually bring us closer together. And so that's why the exhibit is great. It's kind of like a medium, and it's like a bridge to us to share and make us get closer.
I think it helps them understand that not everybody is alike and that everybody's different. And so then when they become adults, they're going to understand that it's okay for somebody else to be different, somebody else to speak differently, and make them a better adult.
Organizers say by exposing children to the similarities between cultures, their young patrons will hopefully develop awareness, acceptance, and respect for people from other societies and traditions.
Really, you have to have an open mind. This exhibit is just a place to start to build that open mind.
An open mind and a bridge that brings two cultures closer together.
Goodbye in Chinese is 再见. Now you try saying it. 再见. I hope you enjoyed your visit to China.
For Full Frame, this is Mike Walter in Indianapolis.
Amazing exhibit. Well, joining us now from Indianapolis is Jeffrey Patchen, President and CEO of the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, the largest children's museum in the world. Welcome to Full Frame, Dr. Patchen. Good to have you here.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Well, we just saw this piece where we're taking around this exhibit. It looks really incredible, so good job on that. But my curiosity is, why did the museum decide to focus on China with this exhibit?
Well, this gallery is an interesting gallery. We call it our Take Me There gallery, and this is just the second iteration of that gallery. And what we do is research other cultures and for contemporary family life. And what we wanted to do is to be able to create for children in the United States and Indiana and the Midwest an understanding of what contemporary China is like. It's the biggest country in the world by population, and we have many Chinese residents in our community, and we wanted children and their parents and grandparents to know about contemporary China.
I got to tell you, Dr. Patchen, I know that the museum is the biggest children's museum in the world, so it's not surprising that you do a lot of different exhibits. I grew up in Ohio, in the Midwest, right next door to Indiana. And I got to say, I was a little surprised when I heard that a museum in Indianapolis wanted to do such a huge exhibit on an Asian country. I guess I was surprised by that, maybe from my background. Should I not be surprised?
Well, we do. You know, we have had a series of exhibits that bring world-class artifacts to the museum. We had King Tut here in 2009, and we've been working for a number of years with folks in Xi'an about how we might bring to for the very first time real terracotta warriors, not just to the United States, but to the world's largest children's museum. And we were able to do that at the same time that we debuted Take Me There, China. So it had great appeal for adults as well as young children.
Yeah, it seems like it across the board, a lot of appeal. Well, I know a lot of research went into putting this exhibit together, and that meant a lot of hands-on research actually going to China. Tell me a little bit about how that all came together.
It did. It actually did. And we started with teams of of our staff and local affiliations, and then affiliations at the federal government, in the provincial government. So we started relationships in Xi'an, related to the Terracotta Warriors, and also the Shaolin Temple, the Chengdu Giant Panda Breeding Center. So we struck relationships with actively engaged, relevant organizations and agencies in China that we would be able to showcase the great work that they're doing and have everyone here understand, for example, the conservation work that's going on with the warriors and some of the new things coming out of the ground. We also wanted folks to know that all that China's doing with the preservation of panda habitat, et cetera. So it was, we wanted to do this hands-on, and that's the way we've done this. We take staff over to China. I have been actually going to China since the mid-'80s.
Oh, wow.
For a variety of reasons, and have always had a fondness for China. But we also wanted to be able to have children and families learn some language, learn some calligraphy, not just, oh, China must be about terracotta warriors and ancient architecture, et cetera, but we wanted them to understand urban China and urban dwelling and the marketplace and all of these things.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about this exhibit. The videos that I've seen, you actually have everyday life things, going to the market, cooking at home. You even feature a real family that the exhibit sort of follows, so that people can get a sense of what everyday life is really like.
Absolutely. Living spaces in contemporary urban, large Chinese city to more rural, traditional architecture and homes in more rural China by generation. So it's been absolutely great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Now, you also have something called the Teachers in Residence at the museum, and for this exhibit particularly. Tell me a little bit more about why that was so important to incorporate.
Well, we wanted our children and students to learn from native Chinese, and both artists, actors, in some cases we've had monks here that help teach our staff some of the basics of Kung Fu, and not so much the Kung Fu from a martial art or a fighting perspective, but from the whole discipline of Kung Fu. And so we actually have demonstrations where we gather folks around and they learn a little bit of Kung Fu.
That's great.
We have a Zen player that actually explains to children how the instrument is played. Same thing with the erhu, and it just helps children and the families understand what real China is like.
Well, I think that's the case in anything, right? The more hands-on experience, interactivity, which is what I love about this exhibit. There's all this interaction with the exhibits. I know that the turnout thus far has been really incredible. Have you been surprised by that? Can you share with us how many people have actually come to see this?
Well, since we opened, I mean, it's been, you know, probably over a million visitors since, I would say, probably close to 1.2 million visitors in that space alone. And it's interesting because we do regular research on what are our families taking away from the experience and comparing it to the previous culture. And the previous culture was Egypt, and you might say, well, what does Indianapolis have in common with Egypt, or really even with China? And we find that folks just loved China even more than the experience that they had in Egypt. And so, and repeat visitation. It's the second highest, most repeat visitation gallery in the museum, other than our dinosaur exhibit.
That's amazing. So people are finding that they want to get more, so they come back. That's a testament.
Can we go back to China? It's like, Mommy, can we come back to China?
That's right. That's great. So I'm sure the kids, obviously you're saying the response has been tremendous with kids, but again, it's probably across the board, right? Kids of all ages and adults.
Absolutely. And, you know, for adults that have never been to China, it dispels stereotypes, which I think is very, very important. You know, Americans may think, well, all Chinese live in traditional Chinese architecture, home.
Right.
When that's absolutely not the case, they go into the urban apartment and go, oh, this looks like an apartment anywhere in the world, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask you then, the importance of doing something like this. It of course, extends cultural exchange and really shares in different people's lives and the way in which people truly live. In this day and age, especially in our current climate here in the U.S., there's a lot of division, a lot of intolerance, and that's a major issue that people are talking about and trying to grapple with. Something like this has got to be a tool in allowing for that exchange and better understanding and openness, right?
Absolutely. The whole idea of understanding other, that not everyone looks like you, speaks the same language, may speak multiple languages, has a different background and different ancestry, is different food preferences and the like. And actually, it's interesting. In the Take Me There China, where kids get to make faux food, it's hugely popular.
Right.
And using chopsticks for the first time, for example.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things are just, that's what the little ones in particular just come back and come back and come back for.
That's so great. Wow. I know that the museum plans on some Chinese New Year celebrations, so can you tell me what people should expect to see?
Well, it's Year of the Monkey, and we'll have a traditional Chinese holiday. We're going to have a Chinese shadow puppet expert here. We have a Chinese-American dance troupe, and then we have an Indianapolis Chinese orchestra that will be performing as well. And we have quite a large Chinese community here that just got so excited about the opening of this exhibit and volunteering in the exhibit along with the teacher exchanges. The Chinese community has just been fantastic.
I bet they were excited, but it sounds like everyone is excited about this exhibit. So congratulations to you on such a successful exhibit. It was great to at least see it on video for me, so I experienced some of it, but maybe I'll be able to visit at some point.
You need to come and visit. It'll be open through 2018, so we hope you'll be here.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, and happy Chinese New Year. Okay.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye-bye.
Well, coming up next, Chinese communities around the world are celebrating the Year of the Monkey in their own special way. We'll take a look at how the tradition is being honored here in the U.S. We'll be right back. The Lunar New Year is the biggest celebration of the year, not only for the Chinese, but a lot of other cultures around the world. In the U.S., the Southwest Airlines Chinese New Year Parade and Festival in San Francisco has become the largest celebration of the Lunar New Year outside of Asia. It started in the 1860s by San Francisco's Chinese community as a way to educate their adopted homeland about Chinese culture. Harlan Wong is the parade and festival director. He produces a spectacle that's been named one of the top 10 parades in the world by the International Festival and Events Association. Also joining us is Miss Chinatown USA 2015, Rose Lee, a student at New York University's Stern School of Business. She entered the competition to honor her heritage, showcase her extensive dance skills, and take advantage of the pageant's scholarship prize. Rose is here with us in the studio to share what it's like to take part in this world-renowned extravaganza. And from San Francisco, we welcome Harlan Wong. Thank you both for joining us. Great to have you guys here.
Great being here.
Thank you, May, for having Harlan, myself, and Rose here.
I know, it's great to have you both here. Well, Harlan, let me begin with you. Chinese New Year, it's such a huge celebration. Tell me first about the significance of Chinese New Year within the Chinese culture.
It's extremely important to the Chinese culture because basically we really celebrate the year because it brings a lot of new hope and new beginning. To me, the Chinese New Year is almost like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Mardi Gras all rolled into one.
Wow.
We pass out lucky money, red envelopes to our anybody that is unmarried. And then like Thanksgiving, we have huge family gatherings. And like Mardi Gras, we celebrate with the biggest Chinese New Year parade in U.S.
Yeah, and like I just said, it's considered one of the top 10 in the world. Rose, you were crowned Miss Chinatown USA in 2015. Yes. That's one of the highlights of this festival, isn't it? So what was that like for you?
It was an incredible experience, actually. I went into it not really expecting to get anything out of it. It was just
for the heck of it, I guess, because my mom wanted me to do it, and also my dance teachers wanted me to do it too. So I was like, well, I think that it's a great opportunity to get to know the Chinese community more, so I decided to do it.
That's really great. Well, Harlan, I know that obviously the pageant is one of the highlights, but there must be several other things that you have planned for the festival. Tell me about some of the other things that will be going on.
Sure. Basically, San Francisco Chinese Chamber of Commerce sponsors 7 events during the Chinese New Year Festival. We have, 2 street fair, the flower fair, the community fair, and then we have 2 sports events, the YMCA Chinatown Run, and the basketball jamboree. And then of course, we have the Miss Chinatown USA pageant and the Coronation Ball, and culminated with the Chinese New Year Parade.
You must not be sleeping much right now, Harlan.
I am not.
Harlan, I know that every year you do work with the Chinese consulate to bring over a group from China to participate. So tell me about that group for this year.
Yes. Every year, again, like what you mentioned, we try to bring a group from China. And this year, we are fortunate to have a Hunan provincial song and dance group. They will be performing ethnic dances on one of our floats.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me ask you this, though. Chinese New Year, it's such a part of Chinese culture, obviously. But here being in the U.S. and also in the Western world, you're starting to see more non-Chinese adopting some of the traditions, or at least becoming really interested in various aspects of Chinese New Year. Tell me more about what you've observed over the years.
Yeah, definitely. There's more interest because basically, like what I mentioned earlier, this is just like a big party. Everybody likes the fun, the excitement, the color, the sounds. We let over 1.2 million firecrackers along the parade route.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot of noise. That's a lot of
noise.
Rose, let me ask you the similar question then, because since you are representing Miss Chinatown, you obviously have to go to various communities all over. Do you see that changing also, people becoming more interested in Chinese culture, Chinese traditions who aren't Chinese?
I definitely do. I think it also probably correlates with the fact that there's more Chinese coming into America too. Right. And also, as we go to school, we interact with different cultures. And so I think it's really eye-opening because for myself, I like to get to know other cultures as well.
So, Rose, for you now, you're obviously going to be passing on your crown. What's next for you? And I should first ask you, what is the biggest lesson you've learned in the past year?
The biggest lesson that I've learned, I think, is more about, getting to know that it's not always just about myself, but more importantly, it's about other people. Because I think for a pageant, a lot of people think it's about the girl, but I think when you do hold the title and you do have to attend events and represent a community, I think it's a lot more than just about being one single individual, but representing an entire community of people.
Did you feel a lot of pressure sometimes because you had to be that representative and that symbol?
I do think there was pressure, but however, I think it was a positive pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure that is really healthy.
Right, right. Well, and what's next for you then?
Oh, what's next? What's next? I'm actually really excited. So right now I'm currently taking a gap year off of NYU to travel. Part of that was because I had this title, and so I wanted to be able to attend more events while I was holding it. And so I've been able to travel to Asia and actually performed dances in both Taiwan and Shanghai. And what's crazy about it is that it was an audience of almost 30,000 people.
Wow.
So that was, yeah.
Were you a little nervous?
Incredible experience.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Again, trying to bridge the culture and take it home, but then bring it back. So that's great. Well, Harlan, I wonder, someone like Rose, she's saying that she was representing the culture and really carrying on the traditions, right? But representing that new generation of Chinese here in the U.S. What do you think, Harlan? I mean, that's got to be important to have that new generation, the younger generation, continue to live up to the traditions, but also kind of modernize as well.
That's totally correct. Basically, it is so hard to always, as one lives in a different culture than your own, you start losing some of that heritage.
Right.
But I'm just so happy that we still have young people that participate in the event. We have Rose is doing an excellent job ambassadoring our events.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Harlan.
Oh, yeah, and I think it is important to get that message across, right? Because again, when you live in a different country and your parents immigrated, then you do tend to lose sight of where they came from.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of these events, right, Harlan? For you to spread that message, not just within the Chinese culture and the community, but to the rest of the world as well.
That's correct.
And Harlan, the parade is taking place in 1 week, so can you tell everyone how they can get more information?
Sure. All the information will be able to obtain from our website, www.chineseparade.com. And we update our website every year in late summer. For example, for 2017, we'll do it in summer 2016.
Okay, Harlan, I think you need some rest, but I don't think you're going to get any for a little while. So good luck to you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, May.
Okay, and Rose, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure talking to you and meeting you, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Great. Well, coming up next, grab your chopsticks, and if you can't use chopsticks, grab your fork. We take a look at the popularity behind America's most popular food, Chinese cuisine. Stay right there. The Chinese first arrived in America in the 19th century to work in the gold mines and help build the Transcontinental Railroad. Now, since then, they've made countless contributions to American society and have captivated Western palates with their cuisine. Virtually every town in the States has Chinese restaurants. Recent estimates reveal there are about 40,000 Chinese restaurants nationwide. It's official, the most popular cuisine in America is Chinese. Joining us to talk about this phenomenon is Young Chen, the author of Chop Suey USA, The Story of Chinese Food in America. He is also a professor of history at the University of California, Irvine. Also joining us via satellite from Shanghai to discuss the latest food trends is Clarissa Wei, a food writer, blogger, and entrepreneur who recently embarked on a 2-year backpacking journey across China. As a second-generation Chinese American, she's connecting with her roots through food, traveling to all the provinces of China to learn local recipes and the stories behind them. Clarissa and Young Chen, both of you, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Dr. Chen, let me begin with you. You're a real expert when it comes to Chinese cuisine and history as well here in America. When it comes to food, it's such an integral part of Chinese culture, isn't it?
It is. It's actually an integral part of every culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's key to understanding the ethnic identity of every culture and also lifestyle and the economy.
But what's so unique about the Chinese cuisine that, you know, that the people of China and Chinese cultures really kind of gravitate to? And it really is a bonding experience, isn't it? You know, when you're greeted in China, they always say, have you eaten yet?
Yes, well, lots of reasons. For Chinese Americans, people say, you know, we don't have a common religion, right? We don't have things like that that hold us together. But the one thing that everyone has in common is food. So we love food. That's
Right.
how we are Chinese.
That's interesting. That's the one bond. That's a good point. Clarissa, let me come to you. You, as I mentioned in the intro, you decided to embark on this journey to go to every province in China to try all the local cuisine. That is a pretty bold thing to do. What made you do that?
Yeah, I think it was when I lived here for study abroad, and I realized, you know, China and the mainstream conversation, people tend to talk about politics and business, but there's so much more to that, to China. And I kind of like to use food as a platform to get people into the homes of locals here and just kind of learn about what day-to-day life is.
So, Clarissa, it can't be easy to be trying to visit all the provinces and meeting new people, trying the local cuisines. What are some of the challenges that you've run into?
In terms of challenge, a lot of it is access to places that don't have public transportation. And right now it's really cold in China, so people, I just don't really want to go out. But other than that, most people have been very welcoming. I had a friend just invite me to a random wedding, and I got to see the whole process from the beginning to the end. People will invite me into their houses, complete strangers, just because I tell them I'm here to research food. So I think food is a really easy way to kind of get into people's houses and learn about their day-to-day lives.
Well, it's like what Dr. Chen, what you were saying, that it is the one common bond that everyone seems to have. So I'm sure everybody warmly would welcome somebody to try their cuisine, right?
Exactly. You know, in the Chinese American community, it's very divided in along political lines, religious for religious reasons. But then, you know, people can forget about the differences when they come to food.
Makes sense, makes sense. Let's talk about the evolution of Chinatowns here in the U.S. As I mentioned in the intro, Chinese immigrated here for the mining and then also to build the railroads. So they had to create these communities, really, to create some sense of home.
You have to also remember that in the 19th century and even early 20th century, there was a lot of hostility, racism against the Chinese, right? So the community also functioned as a safe harbor, right? And so that it provides a sense of community and protection from physical and verbal abuse.
Right.
And Chinatown also functioned as a launch pad for Chinese American cuisine.
Right, so restaurants, right.
Yeah, in other words, when Chinese food first arrived, no one liked it in mainstream America.
Right.
People hated it. They used the words like repulsive.
Oh, man.
To characterize Chinese food. So the only place Chinese food could be protected, developed, that's in Chinatown.
Isn't that amazing, that evolution from that period of time to now, where it's a mainstay in American culture.
In America.
40,000 Chinese restaurants. That is phenomenal.
Exactly.
Clarissa, for you, what I find fascinating is that when you went to China, you were actually writing about American cuisine in China and how that was being received. What did you learn about the Chinese perspective of American cuisine in China?
In terms of American cuisine in China, for a lot of Chinese people, it's kind of like KFC is really popular, but if there's higher end places, it's kind of a luxury. People here really like steak, they really like hamburgers. McDonald's is also really popular, so it's kind of a treat that they will treat themselves out to, because obviously the people here do not cook American food at home.
Right, right. And Clarissa, then when you returned, you started blogging and writing about Chinese cuisine here in the States, which obviously, like we just said, there's so much of. What did you learn about Chinese cuisine here and how it was being accepted, embraced, or not embraced by non-Chinese?
Yeah, I think people started to really pay attention to Chinese cuisine, I think, around the early 2000s, but a lot of people just didn't understand regional varieties, which ingredients came from different provinces. And a lot of people couldn't get access to this information simply because they didn't speak Chinese or they couldn't read Chinese or, you know, look things up in Chinese. So I kind of went in and I interviewed these people, these chefs. I went online and like read books that were written in Mandarin and was able to kind of translate that to the mainstream audience. And I feel like more people are kind of attuned to regional varieties now because of that.
Yeah, they seem to be becoming more sophisticated. Dr. Chen, you wrote a book called Chop Suey USA, and it's all about the story of Chinese food in America.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Why did you decide to write something like this?
First, well, it can be answered in three ways, right? First, it's personal. When I first came to the U.S., right, I developed a longing for Chinese food. You know, when I was staying in New York City with my Jewish American hosts, right, they took me to various nice places, and fed me very well. But I remained very hungry. It was not a physical hunger, it was a cultural longing for where you belong, right, for familiar foods.
Right.
So that started a sort of a journey in search of Chinese food places in the U.S. Right? The search also became a journey to understand American history, American society. Okay, and one of the questions that became so important for me, and also it's the central question of the book, which is why there are so many Chinese restaurants in the U.S. Right? So, so for that, I started to do the research, and also third, I started to understand that doing research on topics like food allows scholars like me to be reconnected to society, to history, right, to what is going on in our communities.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Clarissa, I'm wondering, in terms of all your journeys thus far, have you experienced something that you were so surprised by in terms of the cuisine, or even the attachment, the stories behind the cuisine?
Yeah, what's kind of fascinating is that every single city I go to, there is a handful of dishes that are unique to that city, and I don't really think you can find that in America at all. For example, in Nanjing, it's salted water duck. In Yangzhou, it's Yangzhou fried rice. And these dishes kind of become a mascot in these cities, and government officials, you know, will praise them when people come and visit, and everyone in the city has something to say about that. And also just the amount of food that people eat here. In Nanjing, they go through 200 million ducks a year. So people not only have a specific dish, but they love that dish to death.
Wow, and 200 million ducks to death, yes. Well, Clarissa, as you know, we have some food on set right now, and two dishes that I want you to talk about. We have water-boiled fish. Tell me about the significance of this dish.
Yeah, so water-boiled fish, 水煮鱼, is kind of a Sichuan specialty. It's really, really popular all over the world, actually, even in China, in places that aren't close to Sichuan. This is a trending dish just because everyone likes Sichuan food because they have peppers, they have peppercorns, and it's just very diverse. So water-boiled fish is essentially a white fish boiled in chili oil, and there's some scallions and maybe a little bit of garlic on top for flavor. And it looks really intimidating, but it's really not. You kind of want to just spoon it over a bowl of rice.
Right,
and
definitely.
This is a traditional dish that's typically found in Sichuan.
And then the dumplings. People love dumplings, but is it a New Year's tradition to have dumplings? And I will say, I'm going to give my sister-in-law props. She makes the most incredible dumplings, handmade, just delicious. So I eat them up whenever she makes them. So this is a favorite, I think, amongst most people, isn't it?
Yeah, dumplings are actually more prevalent in northern China for Chinese New Year's, and there's a lot of symbolism behind them because they kind of look like gold ingots the way that they're folded. So kind of the folklore here is however many dumplings you make is how much money you will gain in the new year. So the more dumplings you make, the more money. The more dumplings you make and eat, the more money you will gain. Whereas in the south where I am now, in Shanghai, people here like wontons much more, but it's kind of the same concept.
Okay, I will remember that next time I have some dumplings then. And Dr. Chen, we also have two dishes that are very popular here in the U.S. when it comes to Chinese cuisine, right? We have orange chicken, and we have lo mein.
Lo mein, yeah. These are among the most popular dishes in what we call Chinese American cuisine today. And they also represent change over time. For example, orange chicken, the popularity of that dish is very recent. So, things like this you don't normally find in a restaurant in China.
Right.
So,
this is really
American lovers of Chinese food often were surprised whenever they went to China.
Yeah.
To realize that they couldn't find the foods.
Right. There's where's the Kung Pao chicken?
Exactly.
Right?
Well, Kung Pao chicken actually we have in China. So it's also a Sichuan dish. There are many stories behind it, right? Different versions about how it started. But in the U.S., we sort of people, the chefs, the restaurant owners, they modify the dishes to tailor to American palates.
Right.
Yeah. So, for example, in dishes like this, we add more sugar. Right, we thought Americans all have.
Americans have that sweet tooth.
Yeah, sweet tooth. Right?
Okay.
They all love things like that. And dishes like this become brand names, and to become very easy for Americans to remember and recognize.
Yep.
So.
And that's why they're so popular.
That's why they're so popular. That's why Americans never liked very sophisticated delicacies, so to speak, in Chinese cuisine.
Well, Clarissa Wei, thank you so much for joining us from Shanghai. And Dr. Chen, it was wonderful having you here in the studio. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure and honor.
All right, well, while Chinese cuisine is now a mainstay in American culture, bringing Asian American perspectives to the theater is far less common. But for the past 50 years, one small Los Angeles theater company has been pushing the envelope and making an impact. Full-frame contributor Sandra Hughes visited the East-West Players to learn more about how this community of actors is using storytelling to break barriers.
In the heart of Little Tokyo, just next door to Chinatown, is a small community theater that has had a huge impact on Hollywood. East-West Players is the oldest Asian American theater in the United States, and its newest play is just starting rehearsal.
Oh, Ate Babes told you.
No, I didn't. Pwede ba, Henny? The world does not revolve around you.
As the title implies, it says criers for hire, and 3 women I hired to cry at funerals. It actually magnifies the story of a mother and a daughter and their relationship, how she brought her daughter to the United States, and you see the cultural differences.
Cultural differences are at the heart of this theater, which is celebrating 50 years in Los Angeles.
They're coming up.
Artistic director Tim Dang has spent the past 23 years at East-West Players.
I always like to think that East-West Players is not just an arts organization that does storytelling, that we actually have a mission that is about social justice.
The plays and musicals have been a launching point for many Asian actors, writers, and directors. The current 240-seat theater is the 3rd home for East-West Players in its half-century run.
So what is the percentage of the audience ethnically?
It's quite a mixed bag.
East-West Players' audience naturally pulls from its Asian neighbors, but is as culturally diverse as the shows each season.
I think what's really important is storytelling and advocating for our stories to be part of the American fabric.
That was exhausting.
Yes, I am sleeping with you. Sleeper. In talking such a manner.
Oh, you mean it's tiring?
Chinglish is a play by Tony Award winner David Henry Wong and starred Chinese-American actress Kara Wang last year. It was the highest-grossing play in East-West history. It tells the story of an American businessman in China.
When doing business in China, always bring your own translator.
He falls in love with a Chinese woman. The story goes deep into the differences in relationships between Eastern and Western cultures.
It was the highlight of 2015 for me, because the truth is, as a female, let alone an ethnic female, there are not that many roles like that, that you're gonna get a chance to do in a lifetime.
What's happening, hot stuff?
Hollywood hasn't always been kind to Asian actors.
Oh, sexy girlfriend!
Roles have often been limited to stereotypes. Actor Getty Watanabe felt lucky to find movie work in the 1980s when he landed a role in 16 Candles. But that role caused a backlash from Asian Americans who saw the film as all that was wrong with how Hollywood portrayed Asians.
It's getting better. The roles for Asians is getting better, certainly since the 80s.
Watanabe says East-West Players is part of the reason opportunities have changed.
We would have not done shows. A lot of the theaters would not have hired us. In retrospective, like I did Forum and I did Pippin and other things, we just did mainstream shows as much as we could.
East West Players prides itself in offering opportunities that might not exist for many Asians in theater, but it's also a place where cast and crew can earn a living wage.
Well, I didn't come here to chit-chat. All right, sexy. You want a boogie?
Joan Armadia has appeared on Broadway, but always feels the pull of coming home to East West Players.
It means a lot to me because, as you know, we've been fighting for diversity in theater.
I'm Catholic.
And while that fight has produced some change in Hollywood, East West Players is still just as relevant today, 50 years after its first opening act. For Full Frame, this is Sandra Hughes in Los Angeles.
Always correcting me, ha? We know that you're born here, ha? Napaka-Amerikano mo.
They're making a difference. Well, we'll be right back with this week's Full Frame Close-Up. It's been around for almost 2,000 years. The pipa, a popular four-stringed instrument that's used in traditional Chinese folk music. But traditions often fade with younger generations, and the pipa isn't safe from that trend. But Zhao Song, one of today's most talented pipa players, has made it her mission to inspire a younger crowd to listen to the classical sounds. She's incorporated pop sounds into her recordings and even created a patent for her electric pipa. Zhao Song has made waves globally, too. Her personal pipa album, Sound of China, was released by Universal Music Group. That's a pretty big deal because it was the first Chinese traditional instrumental music album in the company's history. There is an old saying in China, what belongs to the nation belongs to the world. In this week's Full Frame Close-Up, Zhao Song shows us how she hopes the music of the pipa can live up to that adage.
我想可以在我的一生里带着这一个木头伙伴，一个不会背叛你的一个木头伙伴，可以永远走下去。因为我们可以带着它走遍全世界，可以把中国的传统的音乐一起去传给全世界喜欢它或者是准备喜欢它的人。 我想音乐确实是没有国界的，音乐本身是一种情感的表达，那么把它们融合在一起，这种文化的相融合。琵琶最早是从波斯传入中国的，大概是在春秋战国时期。 当时呢，跟琵琶就是中国的秦琵琶融合在一起，经过了2000多年的历史，成为了现在的这种琵琶。最早呢，最早的琵琶是这种样子，是横握的，然后到了唐代的时候，琵琶开始竖着演奏。 看，如果竖着演奏的时候呢，左手就会很 free 了，就可以很自由了，所以这是一个非常重要的一个时期。我是出生在一个音乐世家，我6岁起开始和我的母亲学习琵琶，但是呢，很快的就是这种传统的曲目就已经弹完了。 因为我发现年轻人好像更喜欢流行音乐，所以呢，我就试着把一些传统的中国的音乐跟流行音乐元素结合在一起。后来呢，我想，在国外也有吉他，也是有古典吉他和电吉他，所以我想琵琶应该也可以有古典吉他，古典的琵琶和电琵琶。于是呢，我就想出来一个小的发明，把传统的琵琶，像电吉他一样可以站着演奏。在北京奥林匹克申请的那个大会上呢，张艺谋导演就用了这个发明。其实有一段故事很有意思。Katy Perry，她来中国的时候呢，她有2个选择，一个呢是去看，一个非常 fashion 的这个照相，给她那些大的品牌为她照相；另一个呢，她可以去感受一下中国的音乐。所以呢，我们就想邀请她去了中央民族乐团。我们就找了一个作曲家，带他去，把他 Katy Perry 的非常著名的一首音乐用中国的民族乐器给演奏了一下，然后当时他就哭了，然后非常有意思这个故事。然后他回来以后呢，他写，有一个非常神奇的，这么一个乐团，他们非常的美妙。然后回来他大概发布了，可能是 YouTube 上吧，然后发布了以后 ，Lady Gaga 大概半个小时的时候，就很快的回给他说，我也想要去中国。所以我想，可能是很多，流行的东西，可能更多人在关注它。那么让年轻人喜欢它呢，我们就多融合一些这样的现代的元素在里边。我就尽量的把我的作品和这些改编在一起，这样先让他们先学习了，以后慢慢的，他们可能就开始了解和喜欢，然后再带他们越走越深。其实呢，经常因为工作的关系，经常出国。那么一般情况下都会去，到学校里去跟一些孩子们做交流。我非常喜欢能够把这些传统的，对于他们来说，国外的孩子来说，离他们很遥远的一种特殊的乐器带给他们。美国应该是一个非常融合的一个国家，世界上很多的各民族的，这些不同的国家都在这儿，很多的精英在这儿。那么我们把中国的传统的乐器带给他们欣赏一下，他们可能会更开发他们的想象力。还知道世界上有这样特殊的，而且非常奇妙的、丰富的乐器可以听，所以我想，可能在他们心里有一个这样的种子。这次呢，这个我们中央民族乐团来的这场音乐会呢，是非常特殊的一场音乐会，大概有100多个演员来这里演出。
在我颤动不止的琴弦上，我以琴声向你致敬。
这场音乐会不像普通的常规的音乐会，只是在舞台上演奏乐器，因为我们每个人还是一个演员，我要有说很多的台词。我是演一个2000多年前的一个胜利的将军，叫刘邦的一个将军。那么我们是要在舞台中，边演边说，而且要投入到这个剧情中。
时光穿越回今天，我们都知道是谁赢谁输。
今天我们在肯尼迪艺术中心上演中央民族乐团创新的大型民族乐剧《又见国乐》。这部剧目应该说是在今年7月 在中国北京上演。上演以来，可以说演出了共有30多场。我觉得人物情节也好，戏剧情节也好，在《又见国乐》中间体现得非常完美。它是打破了过去常规音乐会的一些形式和理念，特别是突出了演奏家和音乐家在音乐作品表现上的这种多元化的视觉。
但是今天呢，我要给大家带来的这首曲子是我更加喜欢的，是一个新写的，我自己新写的一个作品，叫做《丝路飞天》。因为敦煌呢是中国文化的一个代表性的符号，那因为我希望琵琶其实因为它的表现力丰富，它除了可以演奏传统流行以外，其实它有更多丰富的技巧。我希望大家进门进来，觉得它有意思以外，还有更深度的了解它。于是写了这个作品，是在去敦煌寻找了灵感。我非常希望，大家在我的音乐里，除了听见1000年的历史以外，能够感受到，演奏家本人的这种真诚的感受，一种真诚的心。因为在演奏的时候，可能是大家用全部的力量和生命和你的激情在演奏。如果大家能够在这个音乐里边能够感受到演奏者的这种激情，还有我希望可以把更多的我学到的和听到的这种所有的文化可以融合在一起，给大家一个全新的感受，让大家听起来，哎，虽然这是一个1000年的乐器，但是它也可以很现代，它也可以很丰富。我觉得这是我希望的。
She is so talented. Well, that does it for this week's show. We'd love for you to join the conversation on social media. We are CCTV America on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And now you can watch Full Frame on our new mobile app, available worldwide on any smartphone for free. Get the latest news headlines and connect to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Weibo. Search CCTV America on your app store to download today. And all of our interviews can still also be found online at cctv-america.com. And of course, let us know what you'd like us to take Full Frame next. Simply email us at fullframe@cctv-america.com. I'm Mei Lee in Los Angeles. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.